Hare Krishna, welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam reading. Before starting reading, let me offer my obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, and all my listeners and Vaishnavas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Chinamine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasachade Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-aravindam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Jinabhanu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangira De Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakao Patarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, com translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We're going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Status Quo, Chapter 5, which is the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, talks between Maitreya and Vidura. Text is 39. Deva ūcuḥ namāma deva pada-aravindam prapanna-tāpopaśamātapatram yan-mūla-ketā yatayo ñjasoru saṁsāra-duḥkhaṁ bahir utkṣipanti. Synonyms. Devā ūcuḥ, the demigods said, namāma, we offer our respectful obeisances. Te, your, deva, O Lord. Pada-aravindam, lotus feet. Prapanna, surrendered. Tāpa, distress. Upaśama, suppresses. Ātapatram, umbrella. Yat-mūla-ketā, shelter of lotus feet. Yatayaḥ, great sages. Añjasā, totally. Uru, great. Saṁsāra-duḥkhaṁ, miseries of material existence. Bahir, out. Utkṣipanti, forcibly throw. Translation. The demigods said, O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. So here is Maitreya describing to Vidura the situation of the manifestation of the material elements, physical elements. And he's describing to Vidura how the demigods, they have a very important and crucial responsibility in the manifestation of this material world. And they feel themselves unable to do so because it's a real difficult task Can you imagine how to manifest these physical elements? Air, sky, water, all these were manifested by the interactions and the demigods working, because the demigods, they are managers of this material universe, and they feel themselves completely disqualified to do so. So and then in their humbleness they approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here Maitreya is describing how the devas, they offer prayers to the Lord, recognizing him as the fountainhead of everything that is. Because we cannot just imagine or think or theorize that all the material elements, they just appeared by themselves. No, you cannot imagine, think or theorize that a beautiful painting just appeared there by itself. No. Before a beautiful painting, there is a painter who uses the different colors, knows how to mix the different colors to obtain a certain color. And there exists the feelings, emotions. So a nice picture, a nice painting, it not just happens by itself, but there is something behind that. And like Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, God is the fountainhead. He gives all the elements, and the demigods, they are managers. They interact to help the Lord to manifest this material creation. So here the devas, they are offering prayers to the Lord. The translation of the verse is, the demigods said, O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. So here they recognize that the Supreme Lord is the one who can protect us from all the miseries. His lotus feet, here his lotus feet are compared to an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. When we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, so we can get free from all kinds of miseries. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam describes that one who has accepted the lotus feet of Krishna, Govinda, Mukunda, Mukunda is the one who gives liberation, who can free us from all miseries. So one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda, Mukunda, crossing the material universe is like to cross a footprint of a calf. Because when a calf walks, his footprint marked on the earth, and then that small footprint can accumulate some water, just little water. And it's so easy to cross that just a footprint of a calf. We don't even thinking, how can I cross a footprint of a calf? It's so easy. So there's some way one who has taken shelter of God to cross over this material existence, the miseries of this material existence. So it's so easy. So by taking shelter of the Lord, one can very, very easy to be free from the miseries. And these miseries, Prabhupada is going to explain further here. So the verse continues, all the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your Lord's feet. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There are many sages and saints who engage in trying to conquer rebirth and all other material miseries. So, in this material world, you find different kind of people, and we find those who are karmis. Karmis, they try to obtain the pleasure of this material existence by their activities, by their actions. They offer oblations, they offer different sacrifices, and in turn they receive happiness in this material world. But all these are temporary, because in this material world there is no happiness that's not followed by distress. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that from the highest planet down to the lowest, this material world, all this place, they are full of miseries, where repeated birth and death happens. So we are in this saṁsāra of this material world. Saṁsāra is like a go around. I think this is the name in English. Forgive my broken English. So you go up and down, up and down, up and down. So this material world is like that. We find some happiness and then we're going to find some distress. There is no happiness that is not followed by distress. This is the nature of this world. So and then some karmis, they try to get free from the miseries by obtaining happiness, but they cannot actually find completely happiness. But when one engages in karma yoga is the same as bhakti yoga. Because yoga is the science of the relationship with God, the living soul, the spirit soul with God. And when one engages in devotional service to the Lord, then he can be really free from all miseries, as it says here, because they took shelter of the Lord. There are those who are jnanis. Jnanis, they try to be free from rebirth. They are situated in a transcendental position, but they have to fall again in the material existence, suffering. Because a real jnana is one who understands that Vasudeva Savamiti Samahatma Sudulabha, that Vasudeva is all in all. Bahunan Jamanamante Jnanavamam Prapajante Jnanavamam Prapajante. The jnana is surrender to God. Bahunan Jamanamante Jnanavamam Prapajante Vasudeva Savamiti Samahatma Sudulabha. Such soul is very, very rare. So, karmis, jnanis, yogis, they are trying to get free from suffering of this material world. But unless they take shelter in the lotus feet of the Lord, they cannot really be free. As the yogis, they go after spiritual perfection or mystic powers, but they have to again experience rebirth if they do not dedicate their yoga at the Lord's feet of the Lord. It's like the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 47. It says that yoginam api sarvesam madgatinantarachmana shadavam bhajatejamam samedjukta tamo mataha. That all kinds of yogis, the one who surrenders to me, this is the highest of all yogis. So either you be a karmi, a jnani, or a yogi, you have to surrender yourself to the lotus feet of the Lord. Because only this surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord is that you will be free from all miseries of material existence. So for this reason here, Prabhupada says there are many sages and saints who engage in trying to conquer rebirth and other material miseries, but they can't because they do not surrender. But when there is surrender, then yes, surrender is the only way for us to get free from the miseries of material existence. Prabhupada says, but of all of them, those who take shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord can completely throw off all such miseries without difficulty. Others who are engaged in transcendental activities in different ways cannot do so. Because a jnani, a yogi, they are transcendental. But that's not enough. One has to be surrendered to God. For them it's very difficult. They may artificially think of becoming liberated without accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. But that's not possible. To accept the lotus feet of the Lord means to surrender to Him, to dedicate our lives to Him. As Bhagavad Gita says, Savandama parityajama mekan sharanam praja ahantvam sabha papelyo moksha ishami machuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion activities and just surrender to me. I will protect yourself from all kinds of miseries. Masuchaha. Moksha ishami machuchaha. Moksha. Moksha means liberation, to be free from the miseries. So real liberation means to surrender to God. Savandama parityajya, abandon everything, just surrender to Him. I will protect you from all miseries. Moksha ishami. Machuchaha. Do not fear. Do not be afraid. So one has to have this confidence that the Lord will protect. In God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, to develop God consciousness, there are 3 items that are completely necessary. One has to be very enthusiastic in the process. If you are not enthusiastic in the process of attaining God, attaining the lotus feet of God, we cannot make further advancement. It's not possible. Take, for example, the athletes in the Olympics. The athletes on the Olympics, they give everything that they have in order to obtain their gold medal. In order to obtain the gold medal, they have to dedicate so much. They have to have a lot of enthusiasm. They have to be enthusiastic that I will go for a gold medal. So all athletes, they think in this way. They're not just going for playing, but they go to obtain a result, to obtain a medal, either bronze, silver, gold. So they go after a medal. So in order to attain that, they have to be very, very, very enthusiastic. And that they have to be very, very patient. Patient. They have to be patient because they are going to pass through a lot of difficulties in training. And, many days, many months, far from family, far from well-beings. And they have to be patient because I'm going to be out of my family affection, but I have to do my training. So, and they are patient, they can wait. And they have to be very, very confident. If one is not confident, one cannot get anything in this material world. So the athletes, they are very, very confident that they are going to obtain a result. They are going to get the glory. So confidence is essential. So if you are not confident that God is going to help us, Masucha, do not be afraid, then we cannot make any advancement in spiritual life. We have to understand that God is going to help us. And we don't see that because we still are working with our material senses, with our material perceptions. And with material senses, material perception, we cannot see God. We cannot realize God. We have to purify our senses. We have to purify all our senses in order to be able to see God, to see His kind hands giving us some solace from the sufferings of material existence. So God cannot be seen with our limited senses, with our material senses. It's like if I give you a pot with milk, and if I ask you if there is butter in that milk, of course there is butter in that milk, but you cannot see the butter in the milk. Where is the butter in the milk? You have to churn. You have to churn the milk, and then you're going to see, to obtain butter. In the same way, so can we see God? Of course we cannot see God, but God's here. God's all the time with us, in our presence. But we have to accept the process, how to churn our activities in order that God manifests Himself to us. So for this reason, enthusiasm, patience, confidence are essential for us to obtain God. It's not just it's not because you're churning the milk, immediately you're going to get the butter. No, you have to churn, be enthusiastic, churning, and be very confident that the butter will come up. You have to be patient because it won't come up immediately. So the same way, we are serving God, we are chanting the holy names of God, we are in the process of self-realization, the process of seeing God face to face. But this is not going to happen at the moment that we want or the next moment. For some of us, it will take many, many births and deaths till we can see the face of the Lord. But even in this life we can see the face of God if we are sent person surrender. Samadharma parityaj, abandon everything. Just surrender to me, I will protect you. Ma sucha. Do not fear. So do not fear this fearlessness. This fearlessness in devotional service is essential. This confidence that God is there to help us. God is in our heart. He can see our actions, our activities. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, as one surrenders to me, I recompense that person, that devotee. Jejitamam prapajante tanstateva bhajamyaham mama vajmanu vartante. According to the surrender of my bhakta, I reveal myself to him. Jejitamam prapajante. According to the surrender. Jejitamam prapajante. So if we surrender completely to the Lord, he can show himself very fast, quick. But we have so many personal desires, whimsical desires. We are not ready to surrender completely. But as soon as we are ready to surrender completely to the Lord, then we will for sure obtain his darshan. This is what the gods say. The demigods, they say that. The sages, the saints, they give us this assurance that by surrender to God, we'll be able to see him. We'll be to deal personally with him, because God is not just something abstract. God is something that you can see, you can talk, you can play with him, you can love him. You can develop different relationships with God. You can serve him, you can have a relationship of him as a servant. You can be a friend of him, Sakha, friend of God. You can have a relationship with God as a son, Vatsalya rasa, the sweetness of having God as his son. As Nanda Maharaj, Vasudeva, they could have Krishna as their son. And they enjoyed completely bliss. What say they were completely free from all miseries of the material existence. And you can love God as a lover, like the gopis in Vrindavana, Madhurya Rasa. This is all possible according to your approach. The way that you approach God, Jejitamam prabhajante tanstateva bhajamyaham mama vajmanu vartante mandasya parta savasaha. So Prabhupada says, one is sure to fall again to material existence from such false liberation. Like I said, to be a jnani, a yogi, a karmi, that's by itself is not enough. You have to be a karma yogi, jnani yogi. You have to dovetail your activities with the Lord. Otherwise, one is sure to fall again in the material existence. Even though one may have undergone severe penances and austerities. Because jnanis, yogis, even karmis, they have to perform different penances, severe penances, austerities, in order to obtain the results. By even working so hard to obtain the results in this material world, if you are not devoted to God, So you lose, and you have to take birth again in the material existence. You are a loser. You are a loser. So what's the point in performing so much austerity, penances in this world, and do not attain complete liberation from the material existence? Do not attain love for God. So Prabhupada says, this is the opinion of the demigods, who are not only well versed in Vedic knowledge. The opinion of the demigods, they offer this opinion. It's not just a whimsical opinion, but it's based in Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge. It's like if you yourself want to understand different sciences, you have to go through books to accept authoritative books. So in the same way, to understand our connection with God, to understand God, we have to go through books. We have to go through Shastra. We have to study Vedic knowledge. So the demigods, they are well versed in Vedic knowledge. And Prabhupada says, but they are also seers of past, present, future. The demigods can see past, present, and future. The opinions of the demigods are valuable because the demigods are authorized to hold position in the affairs of universal management. You see, if you have a big factory, so there are many responsibilities there. So you are not going to give responsibility to any of your workers. You have to give responsibility to those who are knowledgeable, those who are, you are confident, those who know what they are doing. So therefore, if you have a big factory, a big company, you have to give positions to those who are qualified. There's some way to manage the universal affairs. It's very complex, and Krishna gives this job to the demigods because they are reliable, because they are devotees. They are appointed by the Lord as his confidential servants. So the demigods, they are confidential servants of God. Unless one develops qualification, one cannot accept or be a demigod. So it is explained that we can attain 7-8% of the qualities of the Lord. And one who attain that, so one becomes a demigod. 7-8% of qualities of God. So I'm going to read again the verse. It is from Canto 3, Chapter 5, 39 is the verse. Deva ūcuḥ namate deva pada-aravindam prapanna-tāpopaśamātapatram yan-mūla-ketā yatayo ñjasoru saṁsāra-duḥkhaṁ bahir ūcuḥipanti. The demigod said, O Lord, your Lord's feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Todas as glórias, all glórias to Srila Prabhupada.